Hello everybody, my name is Jeremy, this is Red Means Recording, and today we are looking at the Tempera again from Beetle Crab. This is a granular processor. It does live grains and sampled material with granular processing. And I don't know what that means. I'm going to do a quick introduction before we get into the updates. This video is about the updates that have been made to this. I believe it's the last firmware, at least that's according to the maker. The memory is all full in this in terms of like what can be added to it. And we've got some cool final additions to this wonderful instrument. So before we get into it, let me explain how it works real quick. And don't worry, there'll be plenty of audio examples to go along with this whole thing so you can get a sense of how this sounds. But I have done other videos on the Tempera if you are interested in seeing more. Okay, so there's 8 tracks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 columns. Each one of these represents a specific audio file. So let's load some audio files. I'm going to go into Edit, Load, SD card, and I will pick these. This is a folder of files, and you'll see that it's loading all of the individual WAV files that are in there. I have prepared a bunch of 8 WAV files for this thing, so these are all prepared to go together, but you can mix and match audio files in here. You can record into it, and you can do live processing. So I'm just doing this for ease of engagement here. I'm going to go ahead and take our keyboard and change the overlay over to the side here, right there. And I'm going to press a note and say hold. Now that note is pressed. This is an on-screen keyboard. I no longer need this here. That note is just held down. So if I press anywhere on a vertical column, I move through the WAV file. So if we go to edit, this is the WAV file. You'll notice that there is feedback here as I move through it. So you can chunk your file up into 8 chunks or have like 8 individual files here, which I do in other cases. So in the case of like this 1, 2, 3 right here, hit edit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've set this one up in a really cool way, which I'll show you later. So do you get that? We have 8 different WAV files, and in this particular case, I've divided the WAV file into 8 individual chunks so that each one of these keys represents a chunk of that WAV file. It's a continuous WAV file, but there's 8 different sections in it, and because they're equally subdivided along these cells, we can address them individually. You can have a continuous file here, and I'll show that off later, obviously. You interact with these grains with emitters, and there's 4 separate emitters that you can set up. Each one can have completely different settings. They can be BPM synced, they can be fluid, they can have as many grains as you want. They can have like up to 100 grains, I think. So let's try that out real quick. I'm gonna hit edit. That's a good one, I guess. Hit edit, and now I can increase the grain density. And the grain length. So the way length is conceived, see how you have these little parentheses or brackets? Those represent the cells. So if grain length is 1 in this particular mode, then it's going to be within that one cell. And as you go up, it'll start to move into different cells. And that's why we can hear different sounds, because it's moving through those different WAV files that we had there. You can also sync grains. So if I turn this all the way to sync, maybe turn this to 16th notes, and then make sure this is down low. You can hear that I now have synced grains. There's actually a new Euclidian generator, which I'll show you in a bit, which is really, really cool. You can do jitter. Down here, you can set up something called spray. So spray will stochastically choose between random up and down or left and right. That's X and Y. Pretty cool. We have grain shape right now. We're sort of between this really rounded one and this really square one. Depending on what you're doing, you're going to want different grain shapes. Oh my God. Depending on what you're doing, you're going to want different grain shapes. And then we have grain reverse. So you can reverse the grains. It's not really showing up here because we're going so fast. Pan and jitter pan. You can hear that we're now jittering the pan. And then tune spread. So if I just turn this up, we'll get random, which is great for noise. Turn this down. We can snap to octaves and fifths. which is cool as hell. You can change each emitter's base octave, so you can actually have an emitter play multiple octaves higher or multiple octaves lower if you want, which is great. Each emitter can have the effect send up all the way or down all the way. It's a continuous, and then you can choose yes or no if you want to send to the filter. So there's a single filter, and you can have that filter modulate, so you can have some things sent to the filter and some things not. And of course, there's different modulators for everything. We have the ability to change how the emitter is pressed. So right now it's just instant placement, and then I take my hand off and it's done. We can do toggle. We can do latch, which replaces, and many more. So you can choose what's appropriate for the situation that you want with that emitter. I set up my emitters to do different things to best take advantage of my canvases, which is what a full set of wave files and effects and all that stuff is. We have the ability to fade in and out the emitter. So fade in and out. We have some effects. So we have a filter. Different filter types, filter key track. So if I play different notes, the filter would follow those notes. We have chorus. We have delay. With ping pong. Now we're getting somewhere. And reverb. And then we have some new effects here, which I will show off. That's enough out of you. We have some new effects that I'll show off. All this is new. Maybe compression wasn't, but age, which is a sort of like make old sounding. It's really great for like lo-fi sounds. Slip, which is a kind of record warble. Compress, compression, and mix for all of these. So you can dial in some amount of that you want. The modulator section here has attack and decay, sustain, release. This is for the entire, all the emitters follow this this particular thing right here. And then we have all of these modulators. We have 10 modulators of various shapes, signs, triangles, squares, saws, noise, mod wheel, aftertouch, slow noise, velocity, step, poly aftertouch. That's a new one. And step is a new one as well. We actually get a little sequencer that you can assign to things, and I'll show that off in a bit. Targets are pretty much everything. So almost all the stuff in each emitter, and then filter is also there as well. So pretty much everything you'd need. I don't think we can modulate the effects, but yeah. So that's a basic walkthrough of how the Tempera works. Again, if you want more detailed information, go watch one of my other videos on it. Let's get into the new features, starting with the Euclidean sequencing. Here's the same set of samples, but with a very, very different approach to sequencing them. Let's go ahead and get our keyboard just pressed, bonk. And immediately you can hear that we have a beat. So you are able to set up emitters to be like one cell or two cells and exactly on time. And that's what's happening with this. Let me make sure that our tempo is correct. 135. Samples can be set up in such a way that they can either snap to a pitch or they can snap to a BPM. When they're snapped to BPM, if I change the BPM, they will change with the BPM. If I have them snapped to pitch, you can play them like a keyboard. All right, so let's play around with some of these emitters. I'm going to go to my bass emitter, and we'll have our first taste of Euclidean sequencing. So, let's go into this emitter. Here's our new Euclidean sequencing right here. So Euclidean sequencing is basically like, what's our bass time value? In this case, it's 16th notes. What is the full amount of steps that can be filled? In this case, it's 7 steps, so 7 16th notes. And how many do you want filled? In this case, it's 3. And you notice we have this little pattern right here. And that's because Euclidean math doesn't just say, oh, I'm going to put these like 1, 2, 3, and then have 4 blanks. It tries to fill things in with like a little magical math thing. I probably should know how this works. I talk about Euclidean processing all the time. But what you get are these patterns. So this is great for this kind of music, obviously. All right, let's try some of our other emitters now that you've seen that we have Euclidean math. I think I have another one right here. This particular canvas was inspired by a recent IntelliGel video where they used their sequencer to sequence their granular processor. And they had all these little hits in there, and they basically did exactly what we're doing here. And it's such a cool sound. So in this case, every audio row represents a series of one-shots, as we saw earlier. If I hit edit, you'll see divided into 8, and I'm able to use these sequencers, these emitters, to basically be sequencers. Now that movement you're seeing is actually done by an LFO. Right here, E1 relative Y. So Y and X. And if you change the speed of this, you'll change the rhythm of those individual sounds. I can go into the emitter itself and change the length. And change the length of the sounds. Isn't that cool? The other thing that's going on here is this one also has Euclidean generation. So if I go into the emitter and hit edit, you'll see we're doing a dotted eighth note repeating pattern. So it's kind of a polymeter, not a polyrhythm, but a polymeter. You'll notice we have a bit of what sounds like ducking, and that is because I have LFOs set up to do volume ducking as well. It doesn't actually duck around the kick, but it gives you that same vibe. That's cool. So I've been thinking a lot about the Tempera in the form of techno music, how it can be in service to techno music. I think this would be a really, really good pairing with like a modular system. So you could have like a bunch of samples that you can trigger in either melodic or rhythmic ways to go with a techno set. I think it'd be really cool. All right. So that is an introduction to Euclidean sequencing. Next up is, let's talk about the new age effect, shall we? So I've got this weird little pattern here. Let's go to our effects and go to age and turn this off. Actually, let's turn all the effects off. So this is what it sounds like with none of those effects on. Turn age all the way down and slip all the way down, and let's just compress. Immediately we get that kind of ugly pumping. It's a little too much compression, but for the purpose of what we're doing here, that's what I wanted. Let's turn up age. For this particular type of techno, I like that sound. It's dirty and like really compressed. And then slip. You can hear a warble there. It's going to be easier to hear in longer, more sustained things. But age can really add a lot of vibe to things. Remember, you can apply this to live grains as well. Let's see what else this particular canvas can do. My acid sound is right here, and you'll notice that it's kind of jumping around a little bit. You're getting different parts of the acid sound, right? Well, the reason for that is because I have like a continuous acid line here, but I have this set up to spray or choose randomly from different cells. And it's picking different parts of the acid line, and therefore you get like a constant new sequence. So there's ways that you can just have this sort of self-play in a cool way. It's taking a long time to fade out. Let's try this emitter. So as just like the acid thing over here, this one is jumping around and picking from different parts of the sample. That's great. So that's age. We'll be using that in a couple other canvases. Cool. Let's experience the aftertouch and step stuff. So I have multiple emitters here that are set up to demo this. Let's look at an emitter that uses poly aftertouch for spray. Remember how we talked about spray? You could spray up and down, you can spray left and right. It sounds weird saying it that way, but you can use this little keyboard to, reasonably poly aftertouch. I'm gonna try to be very gentle with it. There we go. And you can see that it sprays around like that. It's very touchy. But it is polyphonic, so. The way this particular canvas is set up, each one of these vertical columns represents a wavetable. And so if I just stay on one little cell like that, I'm playing one section of a wavetable sweep. But the moment that I get out of it, I'm starting to play other wavetables. So there's poly aftertouch doing spray. We also have poly aftertouch doing speed. I can adjust the length, which means that we start to hear the individual grains. You can hear that getting faster as it goes, as the grains get smaller, or the grain length gets smaller, excuse me. I think that's neat. Next emitter is step. So let's go ahead and look at our thing. This is E3. We want to look for anything regarding E3. So I have it set to length. So this little sequencer here, I can set it up to, I don't know how many steps it's allowed to have. Let's see. Up to 16 steps. And each one of these little friends here is a sequence step. And so I can come in here and adjust it. So that's length. I also have relative X going on and relative Y and relative Y. So these are all sequenced. You can see here that we have this little step sequencer, which is how I'm getting that super regular expression here. So there's all kinds of stuff you could do with this. It's a very useful modulator to have. Sort of a chill step one, so let's just play around with this a little bit. So that is poly aftertouch and the step modulator. Drums, bass, and I'm having the bass kind of pick a random thing over here again. There's a sequence for the bass here, and I'm just letting it pick random notes. These little fast ones right here are fast. I can turn this off right now. Let's play with swell. So swells a lot of grains. Fades in and out. Really beautiful for building these kinds of like parts of soundscapes. There's 2 pads or 3 pads and then 2 vocals. And then over here, I loaded one from that IntelliGel thing, so I can go to fast and go and add that little bit of like extra stuff on top. This was just kind of something I threw in later, but I can use it on other things. think this would be a really, really good like companion to like a modular techno set or something like that. I mean, honestly, any hardware you can pair it with, it'll be really, really good with. I've used it with modular sets for ambient, and I have not yet used it for techno, but I will. Been thinking about it a lot. All right, so that's just a little more taste of a beat-driven one. All right, this last one is, I was like, can I do jazz on this? And yeah, I can. So the heart of this one is a 1 bar length emitter that stochastically picks from different cells in the sample. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's go over here, go to our emitters. Great. 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. So every time there's a bar, it picks from a different cell. And this is like a sequence. So remember, each one of these is a sample or series of samples up and down. So I have bass, congas, and drums. And these will just randomly pick with spray per channel and play me some jazz. How fun is that? If that wasn't enough, I have some fun, really affected ones, like this dub one here. Doing acid jazz now. I think it's really, really fun. All right, so that's it for me today with the Beetle Crab Tempera on its, what we think is its final firmware update. Just a wonderful little piece of kit, great little granular processor. A lot of different ways you can use it. And I've been a fan since I was beta testing it and making samples for it before it even released. So yeah. Thanks for watching. My name is Jeremy and this is Red Means Recording, and I hope you have a very jazzy day.